All right, let us begin with the invocation. Saraswati Namastubhyam Bharate Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhe Bhavatu Me Sada Vasudevam Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Hari Om. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Yes, can someone recollect what is it that we saw last? We form the link and we can quickly move ahead. Yes, please. Anybody? Please feel free to unmute. Yeah, anything that you can recollect. We have just entered into the second adhyaya of the Gita. And one small request, like I have said, you are free to multitask while attending the session, but please do not drive a vehicle or car or something and attend the session at the same time, because no matter we may be Ashtavadhani also, but it is important to be focusing on the traffic also. Sessions are recorded, you can always hear them later. That is one request to all participants. Other tasks, it's fine. You can multitask definitely. Yes, please. Anybody, can you recollect something that we saw last? Yes, please. Any point. Krishna had just started. Yes, anybody.
We saw the concept of Atman, that the body is perishable, however, the soul is eternal, immortal.
Concept of Atman was. Did Arjuna ask? Did he say, "I want Atmagyan," and or what was the context? I mean, why did Krishna start saying that suddenly in the middle of the battlefield? Yes, Vidisha ji.
When Arjuna asked him to guide, he said that I am surrendering to you. Please show me the right way. Please show
Okay.
me the right path.
Yes.
And
So,
before that, he had been expressing his fear of being labeled a killer and of his
yes.
guru and of his Pitamaha and all the.
Yeah.
He had given a lot of arguments.
Yes.
And at least he didn't want to be labeled a killer. So
Yes.
probably that's why Krishna starts off with nobody dies.
Yeah.
That.
So, Hatya, murder, murder, murder. Again and again, he was saying Guru Hatya, Mitra Droha, Kulakshaya. Means if he was in a police station right now, so many sections would be put against him for fighting. He says even he takes it to the highest point when Krishna reminds him, you are a Kshatriya. The Kshatriya Sinavidyate. This is not the way of the Kshatriya. Anaryam, Ajushtam, Asvargyam, Akirtikaram Arjuna. This is not, you have fought for the heavens. Means when warriors fight, if you see in our armed forces also, but it is very simple. Naam, Namak, Nishan. Three principles for them. So the name, that is important. Many of them come from villages. They say, I want to show my face again. I'll not be a coward. In the Kshatriya Dharma, it is that fire which keeps them burning. Arjuna has forgotten all of it, and he's talking about abandoning his post. He says, I'm fleeing. When Krishna tells him, he asks very sternly, he says almost angrily at Krishna, Katham Bhishmam Aham Sankhe Dronam cha Madhusudana. How can I? There is Bhishma, there is Pitamaha Bhishma, there is Drona. Then he says that there is nothing good. It is a catch-22 situation. Frying pan and fire. Means this side is frying pan, this side is fire. Nothing positive coming out of it. Do we face some situations like this in our life also? Suddenly you feel, Arey, what is this? Nothing is, I don't see any light. It's only darkness. Whatever options I'm trapped now. Anybody? Do we get these moments sometimes where you're not able to see the light at all? Why is all of this happening? Anybody? Because this is what we call the Vishad Yoga of Arjuna. This sorrow has entered. And normally sorrow enters from one direction and then starts trying to take over. So this is, anybody has ever felt like that? I'm not able to understand. I'm not able to make sense. Or I don't see any
Yes,
positive.
yes,
Yes.
many a times.
Many a times, Anjuji.
Yes.
Any example, just light example, without going too much into personal situation, just without.
Yeah, 7 years back, there was some very life-changing thing that happened.
Event
Like it was
shaken
very
completely.
complicated for me and
हाँ
not good at all.
जी
Now
जी.
I realized कि उसमें भी बहुत कुछ अच्छा था जो हुआ.
अच्छा, in hindsight you are able to see, but
Yes,
at
I've
that
learned a
moment,
lesson.
means
At
that is the
that moment, it
experience.
was all
That
dark.
it is all
No
that.
hope.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, ji. Yes, thank you, ma'am, for
Thank
sharing.
you.
Thank you. So yes, I think all of us do get this. Probably it is like how they say, no, night has to come for the understanding and appreciating the beauty of the dawn. So something like that, Arjuna is right now in this dark situation. Krishna is trying his best to tell him, no, Arjuna, what are you thinking? You are attached, you're having a myopic view. Understand, you were here before, you are now, you will be there. The spirit of your existence, the spirit of freedom, the spirit of realization, all that was there, it will continue. There is something which is eternal, which is not going to perish. There is something which is pure, which is pristine, which will not be polluted, something that will not be corrupted. It cannot be created, it cannot be destroyed. That he is calling Atman. And he says, when Atman is there, Atman is something, Dr. Vidusha ji is saying, medical field, when we see violence against doctors, we feel disheartened. Absolutely. Very recently, there's a very horrible case, which is what we can see, the eyes of the entire nation. How sick is that? Well, absolutely. This appears, this is something what we can say. Suddenly sorrow comes. What is the point of everything? Why is the system not strong enough? So right now, Arjuna is feeling like he's a victim. He's a victim of circumstance. He's a victim of the situation. Probably we also sometimes get those moments. Let us just keep that in abeyance. At least our moments, we'll keep them in abeyance to see what Krishna told Arjuna. Maybe we can also get that point into our hearts also. Maybe we can find the light also. But let us see. So he says, this self, you see, this is the truth of the self, he says. This is the self which will never be destroyed. And this is Sharira which you are looking at. This is Vasasi Jirnani Yatha Vihaya. Like old clothes. Like old clothes are discarded, like that this Atman is it is discarding the body and acquiring a new body. A journey is taking place. It cannot be killed. Again and again he has told that in the shloka number 19, 20, 21, because Arjuna is thinking it's the end. It is full stop. If his death is the end, but it's actually showing that death is also a part of a cyclic journey. Where there is Mrityu, there is also Janma. Right now, we do not know how much Arjuna is going to relate to it. Unlike all of us, though we are somewhere in the comforts of our home, Arjuna is gearing up for a battle against his own loved ones, his own elders. For what? For something that is right, for something that he has to hold on, what we call Swadharma. Later on, it will be understood. So he is preparing for that, and Krishna is giving him Atmagyan. Whether or not it is required, we do not know for Arjuna, at least now. Let us continue. We go into the 23rd shloka. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, na chainam kledayanti apo, na shoshayati marutaha. That which no weapon can decapitate, that which no inferno can incinerate, that which even the waters can wet not, and which the mighty winds can dry not. This is the Atman. And the properties of the Atman is what Krishna is attributing right now. No weapon is so powerful to cut the Atman. And that Atman is inside of our body. It's actually a big paradox, isn't it? Our Sharira is made of skin and bones. We go through Janma, Mrityu, Vyara, Vyadhi, all these parts of life are there. Old age, disease. From childhood, we are very vulnerable. Moment we are born, we are vulnerable, isn't it? Human beings are most vulnerable. At least animals, some of them quickly start running on their own. But man has been created in such a way. So what do we are just in that. But inside of this vulnerable physical body, Krishna is talking about a tattva of the Atman. And that Atman is so powerful that no weapon can cut. Sharpest of sabers cannot cut it. that which no inferno can incinerate. Body can be burnt, we can experience burns, but this Atman will not be burnt by the most powerful inferno. That which in the waters, even the waters wet not. The water cannot wet and the wind cannot dry. This is that Atman. It seems a little crazy to visualize, difficult to even, conceptualize. How is it possible? But it's being introduced. We don't have to accept it all of a sudden also. Let us just hear it, maybe even a little passively if we want. But it has been introduced. This is the Atman. Everywhere the talk of Atman is there. In all the granthas, in all the scriptures. Brahma Jnana is also called Atma Jnana, realization. And the great Vedantic rishis who spent hours and years, not just hours, days, months, years meditating, doing ghor tapasya to realize what? They want to realize the Atman, which they call the Brahman. The Upanishads talked about it. Tat Tvamasi, you are that. Oh, divine, you are existing in this world. We are calling you Tat. You are that Brahman. Tat Kim, Tat Brahman. And then afterwards, Tattvamasi becomes Soham Asmi. I am that. Means that realization comes. But right now we do not know. Let us continue. Achedyoyam, Adahyoyam, Akledyo Shoshya Evacha, Nityah Sarvagatah Sthanur, Achaloyam, Sanatanaha. This self, indestructible and incombustible, is immutable, imperishable, and insoluble. In its inertial stillness, it is omnipresent, ageless and timeless. Everywhere it is present. This is a Sanatan, the true meaning of Sanatan, eternal. This is the Atman, is what Krishna is talking about. It won't be burnt, it won't be destroyed, it cannot be mixed and polluted or diluted also. It will remain in its essence. And it is also timeless, transcending time, transcending space, transcending all dimensions that we understand. It sounds crazy. Avyaktoyam, achintoyam, avikaryoyam uchyate, tasmadevam viditvainam, nanushochitum arhasi. Now Krishna is going to start like a father or a mother tells a child, no, no, big boys don't cry, big girls don't cry, or difficult, you have to control your emotions. Something like that. Every tarka which Krishna is going to point out, he is going to say the same thing. He is going to say, Nanu shochitum arhasi, na shochitum arhasi. This is not right. Don't shed your tears, oh warrior. Control your emotions. Why is this important? Anybody? Tears, we are human, isn't it? We will experience tears. We are vulnerable. We have emotions. So why is it important to control them then? Shouldn't we be free to express them? Or is it important to control them? Especially our sorrows. Anybody? Yes, please. Anybody? Is it important to control our emotions?
Of course, it is important. Actually, tears makes us so weak, mentally
Vulnerable, isn't
weak.
it?
Yeah.
You show your tears to somebody else, that person says, yeah,
Uh,
I've got
uh,
control over this person.
yes.
Now I can exploit this person. Even if you're on the side of the truth, side
Yeah.
of the right, and your tears have betrayed
If I
you.
show my tears, he will,
Uh,
then he or she will think that I can exploit her. Uh, I can do anything. She's weak.
yes,
I'm stronger than
yes,
her.
yes, yes. All right, Arpita ji. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
But
Like
So this,
Hariom.
when,
Hariom.
but on the other hand, sir,
Yeah.
if they are, matlab, if we are cry, that is not a weakness what I feel, but at the right place. You should
Right
know कि
place. Not
कहाँ पे
in
आप
front
अपनी
of
emotions
Duryodhana,
को
no?
exactly. You should
Not
know
in front
where
of Duryodhana.
your emotions
Yeah.
won't be ridiculed.
Situational.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right.
Where you are in front of a guru, there are ashrus also. There are different types of tears. Some are selfish tears, and then
Some
there are
are of
selfless.
divine grace.
Nirpeksha. They are
Hmm.
nirpeksha ashru. They come when you get the experience. They
Yeah.
come when a evacuation takes place. That time we should allow it, but otherwise it should not be anywhere else.
Right.
One friend of mine, an elder, he told me something very interesting. He told me, no, there is no market value for a man's tears. You should not show it. It was something he was personally hurt with something, and that was what he was trying to explain. But that was such a good point, because no, we're not going to show our tears to someone who's going to exploit. And Arjuna is in the battlefield. No, this is not at all the place for him to cry. It is displaying a weakness. And what happens in a battlefield when you display weakness? The opponents recognize it's time to go for the kill. That is exactly what Arjuna is doing. But Krishna is giving a high Gyan. The Atma Gyan is just introduced something very interesting, that there is an Atman inside, which is powerful, which is glorious, which is majestic. And this majestic Atman is inside of a limited body. This Atman which cannot be cut, which cannot be burnt, which cannot be dried, which cannot be wet. That is the Atman. That is inside, is what he is saying. Then this particular shloka, the 25th one, Krishna says something. I just want you to look at it and then tell me, is it again a ploy? Because sometimes you feel, if you can't confuse, that strategy a lot of people use in the marketing field. If you can't convince, you confuse. Is Krishna doing this? Because suddenly he has introduced the Atman. Is he confusing or is he making him realize? Let us look at this shloka again. Avyaktoyam achintyoyam. It is beyond chintana. Then avikaryoyam, without any flaw. Uchyate tasmad evam viditvainam nanushochitam arhasi. He says, this invisible self by the mind cannot be conceived. Means clearly is declaring, it cannot be conceived by the mind. Jitna bhi apna logic lagao, you will not be able to understand it is by the mind alone. That is one thing he declares. Then he says about the blemishless self, thus is said and perceived. It is thus said about it. It is perceived by whom? By the rishis, by the munis, by the yatis, by the mumukshus. These were all realized great souls. They understood, they got this anubhuti, an experience of this divine self. And they said it is beyond the mind. Then Krishna says, this knowledge of the self, you must realize and see. Indeed, how pointless it is for you to lament or grieve. It's pointless for you to cry, to grieve this way. When you understand this, when you get the realization. My question is, if it cannot be understood by the mind, why is Krishna asking him to understand it? Or recognition of uncertainty, does it create a ground for understanding? A principle Krishna is establishing. A principle of uncertainty of the Atman. He's establishing it and then saying you must realize it. Anybody, is there any uncertainty principle which can help us understand something? Has anybody come across anything like that? Generally what you know, you know. Here it is first establishing you don't know, and then you can know. Is there logic or is there just a ploy to confuse our already sad, poor Arjuna? Anybody?
If you accept that you do not know, then you open yourself to possibilities of learning.
Yes,
probably
I
look
think
perspectives.
absolutely. This is the Keno Upanishad's base. Only he who does not know can know. If I know already, मुझे सब पता है. What's going to happen? I'm going to close myself to higher learning, to greater knowledge. That is one. I think in schools also we must have heard of some principle of uncertainty, isn't it? Anybody? In physics, specifically quantum physics, they call it uncertainty principle. Anyone? Down the memory line, anybody can think of it, something? It was by a scientist named Heisenberg. Did it relate? Anyone? No, all right, fine. So anyway, it's not a physics, applied physics or theoretical physics class also, but so this principle was very interesting because it described the certainty of that uncertainty, that you cannot predict with full certainty the position as well as the momentum of a quantum particle. The moment you realize this, you know that there is a chance for something else which is beyond your understanding, and that had great practical applications. Means one is the higher principle, but one is something which is having a practical application. So this principle of uncertainty had a great practical application. Same way, the uncertainty of the Atman, if we establish at least ki chalo, it is not going to be understood by the mind. That will create one ground. You will either say ki chalo, I have not understood it fully at all. Let me try understanding. And in that aspiration to understand, you might actually end up raising your consciousness beyond what is mind. There is something which is beyond the mind. Mind is the base. Gita talks about it. Later on, we will see. So this is what Krishna is telling. But right now, Arjuna is not ready to come beyond the level of senses, beyond his emotions. First, he has to understand by mind, then go what is beyond mind. But the Atman concept has been introduced. Whether or not it's understood, we will see. Probably Arjuna gives a very blank face to Krishna because the next shloka he immediately changes. He makes it again more simplified. He says, Atha chainam nitya jatam nityam va manyase mritam tathapi tvam mahabaho naivam shochitum arhasi. If you think the self is subject to death, or if you think that if you think that self is subject to birth, or if you think it is subject to death, either way, O mighty armed warrior, it is not right to grieve in this manner. So, acha, theek hai, forget it. You don't understand or you don't recognize this principle of the Atman. Everything is going to disappear. A lot of youngsters say, isn't it? YOLO, only live once. Gita says you only live once in this sharira. You will be having one more sharira afterwards. The picture goes on. But say, assume you say that everything is only myopic, and at this moment when I am living, that is everything. That moment when I seize, everything disappears. Krishna says, even if that is the case, this is not the right time for you to cry, whether or not you are thinking about the Atman's existence or non-existence. Your emotions are at a wrong place, at a wrong time. This is not right. He says, no. Then he goes on further. He says, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvam dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmadapi haryethe natvam shochitum arhasi. Again, he says, Natvam shochitum arhasi. Don't, Arjuna, don't cry. He says, for he who has taken birth, death is certain. And for he who has died, birth is certain. Death or birth is but an inevitable situation. It is not proper to be born on any occasion. Krishna is saying clearly, he says, somebody who is born will die only, isn't it? Yes or no? Isn't it a truth? It is a logic. It's a fact. I can say I want to live a full lifespan. Sthirairangair sushtuvan svastanubhihi vyashema devahitam yadahu. Let me do divine work. Let me have long life. These are the mantras which we pray. We aspire for it. But death is going to come to me, isn't it? Can I say when it is going to come? Chalo, ghadi aa gayi. I can say time and tell you it's going to come now. No, some more seconds. No, it's not. It's not in my hand, but it is a truth. It is going to happen sometime or the other. I may think it will happen after 40 years. Who knows, it can happen after 40 seconds also, isn't it? It's not in my hand because this is the mortality of, the truth of mortality of our human existence. And Krishna says, see, somebody who is born is going to die. This is Dhruva Satya. This is like that Dhruva Tara, which will not change. Like that, this truth is there of mortal existence. Somebody who is born is going to die. And somebody who has died, for him, birth is certain. Somebody who has passed away, that person will. The journey is not over there. The birth is certain. This is something beautiful in Sanatan Dharma. It answers a lot of questions, especially the questions of deeper introspection on philosophy, life, and death. And there is a cycle of consciousness, a cycle of evolution taking place. And death is not a full stop. It is like a comma or a change of paragraph. A new paragraph will start in the story, something like that. A new chapter will begin again, but the story is not ending with this. That is something Krishna has told. He says, death or birth is but an inevitable situation. Sometimes people cry, अरे बच्चा नहीं चाहिए था हो गया क्या करें? And then there are people who are crying कि बच्चा हो ही नहीं रहा है, what to do? Again, this is not in human hands. We must recognize this. Krishna is saying, no, don't get emotional, unnecessarily over emotional with don't burden yourself and start grieving or mourning. Many times people are not able to overcome the loss of someone dear. Loss may be lost from the mortal world or sometimes lost from personal existence only. The person says, I don't want to see you at all. That breaks a person completely. But again, truth is, this is a life, isn't it? Each of us is living an individual life. We are born like this, and everybody who is born is going to die sometime or the other. This aspect has to be realized. This is a Dhruva Satya. Arjuna is not recognizing it. That is why he is not just emotional. We are all emotional. Probably because we are emotional, only Krishna chooses us for sadhana. Because we are emotional, we start feeling for others or we try to search for the divine. But here, wrong place, wrong time, emotions are of no use. Arjuna is the best example. If we say we want to do pranam to Krishna, before that we'll do pranam to Arjuna because Arjuna is telling us what is wrong. Wrong place emotions create such a big situation. Sarthi is Krishna. Driver is Krishna himself, and yet he is worried. He is in depression, so close to the temple and yet away from God. That is the situation because of personal interference of emotions. Krishna is saying this is not the time, this is not the place. He goes on further. Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyakta nidananyeva tatraka paridevana. The beginning before the birth is unknown. The middle lifespan of birth alone is known. What happens after death is also unknown. Hence, O Arjuna, what causes you to mourn? You don't know what was there before your birth. What is after also you don't know. What do you know? You know only what you have experienced. So if you want to divide life into three parts, the life before you came into existence, the life after you have come into existence, and the life that is going to be after you have left. You know only 1/3, isn't it? One of three things you know. Can you make a full summary of when you know only, say, 33.33%? Can you make a full summary of something? No, at least get 50% knowledge you can guess. But here, that also you don't know, he's telling. And then yet you are confident. You're talking about Naraka. You are becoming Nostradamus, making predictions about your Pitars, about Naraka Loka, when you yourself don't know. For me, I have no idea what was. I don't remember even anything before probably 93. 90 I was born, so first 2, 3 years I don't remember it. But that does not mean the world did not exist. There was a world, there was a big, so many things going on in the world. The cycle of existence was going on. So Krishna is again saying, don't summarize when you don't know everything. Don't draw a worst case scenario. Stop making such predictions of what's going to happen. Most of the time we make predictions. My life, I have suffered so long, so I'm going to suffer throughout. I have no idea what's going to happen in the next moment also. Suddenly a best friend of mine can come and say hi. Suddenly that best friend can come and slap me also. I have no idea. This is the aspect. When you don't know what is happening afterwards, you can't suddenly go into this state of what we can say predictions of future. Arjuna, why are you mourning as if you know what's happening afterwards? He goes on further. He says, Ascharyavat pashyati kaschitenam आश्चर्यवत् वदति तथैव च अन्यः आश्चर्यवत् चैनम् अन्यः शृणोति श्रुत्वाप्येनं वेद न चैव कश्चित्. When the secret of the Atman is told, this is how people behave. People behave in one of these fashions which Krishna is talking about. He says, some people see the self as surreal. The moment they hear that shloka of Nainam Chindanti Shastrani, Nainam Dahati Pavaka, wow, I can relate to it. I have felt some anubhuti. There is something which is beyond my understanding. Means they are able to draw a anumana, one inference they are able to draw just by recognizing or even visualizing or even meditating or even doing chintana on the concept of the Atman. They call it surreal, Ashcharya. They get and they recognize the presence of the Atman. That is one category. While some call it, when some see it, they are able to experience. Sri Aurobindo got the experience of Shri Krishna inside of a prison. Vasudevam Sarvamiti. Suddenly, all the fear, all the worry, all the questions suddenly disappeared. He was wondering what's going to happen to my country. I have come to serve my motherland. How will she become free? I have come for this work and now I am in prison. The British government wants to hang me for a mistake or something I have not done at all. For a crime I have not committed, I am in prison. What's going to happen? And that is where, in that dark 6 by 9 feet prison of solitary confinement, Sri Aurobindo got the Sakshatkar, and suddenly a transformation began. Then he wrote his beautiful epics, the great sadhana of integral yoga was started. It was the hour before the gods awake. That's how the Savitri begins. So, like that, his spiritual experiences just came afterwards. So that is one category who realize themselves. They understand the existence themselves. Some other, while some call it surreal and acknowledge. Some others, what do? They use their faculties of understanding, mana and buddhi. Anubhuti is beyond all of this. You have to rise. But some people don't get the anubhuti, but they use their mana, they use their buddhi, and by tarko or by knowledge or by realization, by understanding, they say, yes, there is an Atman. No, my relation with my sister is eternal. It's okay. She may be looking differently now. When she was very young, she was different. After another 40 years, her teeth will fall down maybe. But still, my relation is going to remain eternal because that is a pure bandhana. That bandhana I feel is timeless, and I feel there is something which is pure in this world. If that is there in this, I will hold on to it because that is, for me, that is the spirit of thing. I can understand. Like that, the spirit of Atman, for people are able to draw analogy ki there must be an Atman inside. That only explains a lot of questions. That's the second category. But then there's a third category. While some others hear about the self as surreal, means Shruti, hearing. Hearing from whom? From reliable sources. Reliable sources. Anybody who is a reliable source or what is a reliable source? Anyone?
Maybe the gurus or the parents या
Okay.
कोई scriptures हो गए वहां से,
Yeah, it could be
documented proofs.
some documented proof.
Yeah.
Again, and
It's
you
like
can
how
connect.
it's like
Yeah, please
it's
tell
like
me.
how a lot of us join this group.
Okay. How is that, sir?
We
Somebody,
heard
I was source, somebody, acha, Shruti, by hearing from someone.
yes.
Okay, sir, right. So, yeah, Shruti is actually in our Mimamsa or the school of philosophy, like we have modern research methodologies. In ancient times also, we had this Tarka Shastra was there, Mimamsa Shastra was there. And there we had different experience. First was realization, full realization, Anubhuti, one person who gets it. Then some would give inferences, they call it Anumana. Sometimes there will be negative inferences. Anupalabdhi. Neti, not this, not this. No, this is not it. This is not it. Then what is it? You keep eliminating one by one. All right, this is that. I understood it now. So that was the realization method. Another pramana was Shabda pramana. For me, Shabda pramana is when my mother comes and tells me I am your mother. I'll not say birth certificate, DNA certificate, dikhao. I'll get one thappad is different question. But if some lady does come to me and say ki, I am your real mother, here is the DNA proof. I will say it's my experience, my heart knows. She is my mother in this entire birth. For me, she is the pramana. For this, she has become the pramana. Because sometimes what happens is not a rigid aspect, it is your understanding. Sometimes people say parents are pramana, but sometimes parents are only creating trouble. What will happen then? Can they be the pramana then? Same way children. For me, nobody other than children I will trust. Nobody other than them. Well, it is something. Pramana is understood. So Shabda, it is up to the individual. You see, different anubhutis each person has according to their nature, inner nature. Each one has a different nature, and our Sanatan Dharma is a beautiful, vast, open playground only of experience, where we can all walk on the path that we choose. We can choose our discipline, we can choose our field, we can choose the game that we want to play. It is something like that. So the third one is by Shabda Pramana, by Shabda, by Shruti, by hearing from, as Anjuji said, by Guru, from an elder, from a source that you trust. Like modern day medical journals, they have this factor, impact factor. It's a citation index. How many citations are there for a research paper? So many doctors have said, and they refer this, that, "Chalo, this is a good one." If this journal has a very poor factor, no, this is not worth citing because this is shown previously. This is the past history. It is not reliable. Well, something like that. About the Atman, by Shruti also you can understand. Shruti also is a very important aspect in Sanatana Dharma. Hearing. Our rishis, though, they heard mantras in Shruti. They went into meditation quietly and they could hear because they were so receptive. Words from a plane which is beyond what we call the mind. And then there is another category of Maharshis. After hearing it too, they have no knowledge. Means it's fallen on this year, gone out of the other year. That is one more category. ठीक है, Atman is there. The Adhyatma or anything about that, the question does not come at all in the mind. That is also a category, even after hearing it. I remember when I did not plan that I would go and find my guru. It happened naturally. In life, it happens like that. It's not something you make a plan and do. But when I found that was nearly 13 years ago, I decided I'll be with him, I'll learn from him. I remember one aunt, she had come home and she came to my mother in front of me. She was talking, "Oh, he has taken to spirituality," as if I have passed away. She was talking in front of me only, as if all life is now gone. He is wasted. Entire life has been destroyed and ruined. I don't think anything bad happened 13 years, and it's not like that. But for that individual, it's of no use, even if you try to explain, because that is the approach of that individual. So this is the fourth category. Krishna says the knowledge of the Atman comes in front of them, and yet it doesn't make a difference. It falls on one ear, goes out of the other ear. It's like you can make someone who wants to see, isn't it? But when someone chooses to be blind, can you make that person see? No, it's something like that. Krishna goes on. He says, Dehi nityamavadyoyam dehe sarvasya bharata tasmat sarvani bhutani na tvam shochitum arhasi. Atman is not only in my friends' bodies or in the bodies of people I know. Atman is in every living human being, seated within the bodies of every being physical. Oh Arjuna, the self is invincible and eternal, and thus for the sake of every individual being, it is improper and incorrect for you to be grieving. This Atman is there inside every living being. So, for how many of them are you going to shed your tears? Lakhs of soldiers are there, isn't it, in the Mahabharata? So, if Arjuna decides to just take their names and shed one tear for them, what will happen? Kurukshetra will get flooded by the tears of Arjuna. Krishna is saying, no, why are you crying for every living being? Understand, Atman is there inside your friend, inside your foe also. And that Atman will not die. He goes on. Swadharmam api chaveksha navikampitum arhasi dharmyadhi yuddhat shreyonyat kshatriyasya na vidyate. This is not the way of the Kshatriya. Kshatriya is a dharma which Arjuna has chosen. It was not foisted upon Arjuna. We will come across this. What is Swadharma? Swa means self. Dharma means duty. Duty towards self. Our spiritual marga asks us to become selfish. People say, no, life is very bad. If you are selfless, you are like this. Adhyatmic marga is asking you to become selfish, but in a different way. Not in a swarthi way of lower self. We will understand the drawbacks of becoming swarthi. But we must not forget that Swadharma. Now, when we are doing the prayer also, what is the last prayer that we do? Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. My teacher Damli said that is the most selfish prayer which is possible, but that is also the best prayer which is to be done. Because when will you be happy? When everybody around you are happy, isn't it? So you are aspiring for betterment of everyone. Something like that. Our Swadharma we must not forget. Each person has a Swadharma. Yes, somebody wants to add something? Please feel free to unmute. Yeah. Is it? Or no? All right, then I'll just mute. Yes. So our Swadharma should not be forgotten. Krishna is saying, your dharma or moral duty you must consider. And from it you most definitely mustn't falter. For the warriors who to uphold the truth fight, nothing is most appropriate but to defend the right. Krishna says, just one second. तुम्हाला तुम्हाला मला नको आहे. Just 1 minute. Yes, so Krishna says, when such, you're as a warrior, for a warrior, what is the most important duty? It is to uphold the truth. And that you should never forget is what Krishna is telling. Nothing is more appropriate than that. What is the dharma of a doctor? Anybody? Doctor's dharma is to treat. To what we can say, to treat the patient. What is the dharma of the rakshak or the soldier? It is to protect. Dharma of the teacher, it's to teach. Can we say anybody's dharma is greater or lower? No, we cannot, because this is each person upholds the dharma, then only our society, we are connected. If you see, this is a beautiful aspect of Sanatana Dharma. It understood how we are all connected together in existence. Aren't we all connected together? Now we are connected by network, probably. But COVID time, we understood we are so connected that we are all superheroes if we just stayed in the house. We didn't go out. We didn't become transmitters because we are all that way in a system of flux of Maya. We are like that. We are connected to each other. That is one truth. So in that, each must understand you have a role, and that role, you have your own inner calling. You cannot forsake it at any time. Arjuna was going to forsake it because of what? Emotional pressures, because of compulsions, because of anxiety, because of feeling that there is no other option at all. Krishna is reminding him, no matter what is the situation, you may have 10 lakh people against you. It's all right. The Swadharma must be upheld because that is your own innate inner calling. You cannot lose that. That's what Krishna is reminding him. He said, Are, you are a Kshatriya. This is not how Kshatriyas behave. He tells him immediately. He says, Yadrachaya chopapannam Swargadwaram apavrutam Sukhinaha kshatriyaha partha labhante yuddham idrusham. When such a bellicose moment abruptly presents of its own accord, it opens the doors of heaven. The warrior, O Arjuna, only joyfully consents, for they consider this sacred chance God given. Krishna is saying for a Kshatriya, when a moment comes, he doesn't hesitate even once. Ready to even throw. We have stories of our Jawans, isn't it? Risking everything. Are they having any guarantee of return? Society will respect them. No, no, no. They will not respect. Society will not even care. Instead, nowadays we are seeing they are trolling. They're trolling the martyrs, their families. Everybody is just not caring. And yet we have soldiers, young ones enlisting into the armies, enlisting into the navy, into the air force, deciding to do something for the sake of the world. In a world which is selfish, still people are living and walking on selfless path. Everybody is speaking about virtue of selfishness. And yet people are walking. Why? They have understood. And they say, this is the opportunity, a God-given opportunity to uphold my dharma. They don't lose that opportunity when it comes to them. It is sacred. It is a chance. It is a God-given one. You should hear the dialogues in the battalions. They say, oh, that person was lucky. He became martyr. It should have been my turn. How can people talk like that? Well, that is understanding. A short story of how a general goes to the home of a mother who has lost her third son in a war between two countries. All three sons become martyrs for her. What happens then? The general feels, no, hello, I should at least now go and meet this mother. She must be in sorrow, and I should tell her not to cry. And he goes to meet her. He sees the mother having tears. Yeah. Mother, you should not cry like this. Your children were brave children. They fought like this for the country, Instead, the mother got angry. She says, I am not crying because my children perished. I am crying because I don't have any children to give for the motherland. This is the Matru Dharma, isn't it? Absolutely highest. beyond personal selfishness. He says, I don't have one more child to give for my motherland. That's why I am weeping. The general is also shocked. And he salutes her with full honor and then walks away, inspired to uphold his duty further. This is the way of the Kshatriya. Doesn't become disturbed by outer situations. And they say this is a God-given chance. It says they will say, Swarga Dwara will open for me. So let me go ahead on this path. Jai Bhavani, Jai Shivaji. So many such chants, war cries. They say and then they go ahead, irrespective of what they are facing. Let us continue. You able to hear me? The screen is frozen at my end.
Now we can hear you.
All right, sir. Okay, so yes. All right, thank you. There was some network drop. अथ चैत्वम् इमं धर्म्यं संग्रामं न करिष्यसि ततः स्वधर्मं कीर्तिं च हित्वा पापं अवाप्स्यसि. But if you in this battle for justice do not participate, and from your duties you will gain no fame from the sin of inaction, but instead bear the consequences of abstention. You see, not upholding your duty is also a sin. If you are worrying about sin, Arjuna, you did not stand for what is right. There is no greater sin than that. Dr. Vidisha ji has written something. I'll just probably try to read it out. Yeah. A surgeon does surgery by holding scalpel and creating incision on the body of patient. That is his dharma. If surgeon gets afraid to hold scalpel in fear of losing patient, then it will be deviation. So beautifully said. Yes. And my own childhood friend, he's now a colorectal surgeon. He says, I don't try to purposely talk too much to the patients because I don't want to establish a emotional bonding with them. I go, I talk, but I speak very neutrally because when I do the surgery, I don't want to bring in the emotions coming in between because that is how you can uphold your duty in the right manner. Sometimes emotions are important. Gita is not saying throw your emotions, crush your emotions. But Gita is saying learn to keep your emotions aside also at times. What times? At times when you have to uphold duty. We are human beings, we are a bundle of emotions. Emotions will come whether or not we want them or we don't want them. Our challenge is not whether we should have emotions or not. It is going to come. Some people say, I don't have any more emotions. That is also an emotional reaction, isn't it? That is also an emotional reaction to some stimulus from the outside. So instead, duty, while doing the duty, it could be anything. A mother's duty of scolding the son or daughter is also an important duty. Dhritarashtra did not do that duty. What happened? Mahabharat happened. We have to choose. We want Mahabharat or we don't want that. So we will have to become detached. Otherwise, we will falter. Krishna is trying to remind Arjuna. He says, no, you don't do your duty. Say you don't uphold your swadharma because of emotions. Because I don't want that person to feel bad. What's going to happen? Your entire life, you're not going to be following your swadharma. You will be just under that sorrow only, isn't it? Yeah, I did not follow my swadharma. Some injustice happens in your apartment system and you say, chalo, theek hai, it's all right. It didn't happen in my apartment. It happened in the neighbor's apartment. It's okay. But isn't that injustice? Can you tolerate it? No, you should not tolerate it because tomorrow that will happen to you also because that is injustice, how it spreads everywhere. It starts off one place, you accept it, you tolerate it, becomes a norm. So for that reason, you must stand is what Krishna is saying. And he says, no fame will come. He said, no, if I get killed without any weapons, in a very romantic manner, he says, if I get shot by Duryodhana, I will still have some glory. He says, no, no boss, no glory will come to you. Instead, you will bear consequences. When you were alive in front of you, Draupadi was insulted this way. When he was insulted, when she was insulted in their presence, if Arjuna is not there, what would happen? Will they treat with more respect or less respect? It will be less respect only. And if he cares for others, if he cares for Abhimanyu, he cares for his loved ones, can he afford to just like that leave everything? No, he cannot. But his emotions are convincing him otherwise. Yes, sir. Hari Om. Krishna Mandir, Jagat. One second, there is some, I'm hearing, recollect, what is it that we saw last? Yeah, Hariom, yeah. Can there be a Swadharma in maintaining relationships? I think it will come later on in the Gita, Meghaji, or specifically if some question is there, after the session we can look at it. This question has been asked. Yes, it is required in relationships also. Swadharma is everywhere. You have to uphold your Swadharma. If you don't uphold your Swadharma, you are compromising with your own self. When you compromise with yourself, nobody is, you are not giving respect to yourself. How can you expect anybody else in the world to give respect to you? That will just be a fantasy. Oh, somebody will come to respect me when I am not respecting myself. That is important. Uphold Swadharma, Krishna says. Then he goes on. What fame are you thinking of? He says, Akirtim chapi bhutani kathayashyanti tevyayam sambhavitasya chakirtir maranat atirichyate. And all the people shall speak for eternity of this ill action, harboring only disrespect. For those who by their deeds have earned respect, even death is far more glorious than notoriety. What is Krishna doing right now? He's trying to teach Arjuna through morals. Through morals, he's trying to make him awaken. He's saying, see what will happen. People will call you like this. And for good people who have worked hard, who have led a good life, who have earned their respect, they will not want to scatter their self-respect just like that. They would want to protect it. In, say, a government system, there's one officer who is always perfect and posh, incorruptible, never corrupted. Now his retirement time is coming. Suddenly somebody comes and says, sir, please, one signature. I will arrange this thing for you in return. What's going to happen? He'll get wild. He say, all my life I have stood like this by these principles, and now you are coming to ruin it. I'll not tolerate it. Better let me face whatever consequence I have to face because of it. But you are not going to try to corrupt me, or I will not falter from my duty. This is the way of somebody who is living by certain principles. Tattva, who are living by them, they will not want to compromise by their ideals. Because ideals are what we stand by then, isn't it? If you don't stand by them, where will you get? They say, Dharmo Rakshati Rakshitaha. Has anybody heard of this slogan? Anyone?
Yes.
Yes. It is
Yeah, during
yeah.
Narendra Modi ji, when he was going to Tirchi,
Okay.
there was a pujari who was telling that may the protector of the dharma let dharma protect you. So he was
Okay.
wishing him.
Acha.
So
Yeah.
from that only I came to know that about this. Yeah.
It is a name, it is the motto. It's actually there in our Sanatana Dharma scriptures also, so many places. But it's also a motto of a premium organization. Dharmo Rakshati Rakshita. Maybe if somebody can try to search tomorrow, you can let me know then which is that organization, if you know.
Yeah, it is there in the. I'm definitely it will be there in the scriptures, but that time only, like he was blessing that Modi ji.
Yeah, that is true.
So
That
it
is
was.
true. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But generally, what we may have people who are from the other end of the political spectrum in our Gita work. So we will avoid discussing. We agreed. He's our Prime Minister and respect that very much. His wonderful work going on. But in example, we'll avoid political examples just for the sake of in Gita, there is something called Na Buddhi Bheda. So I will not tell you my affiliation also anytime, though I may have a very fond affiliation to somebody who is doing good work. But let us continue. So Dharmo Rakshati Rakshita is the name of a premium agency, an organization. I would say please do search and find out, and you can let me know tomorrow. It will be very interesting if you
Raw
find.
organization.
Yeah, somebody has already told it. Yes. Research and Analysis Wing. This is what the premium intelligence agency of Bharat. Where are the raw members? Anybody? Can you tell me where they are? Yes. No, we don't know. They might be in our class also. They might be in our session. We do not know. They are undercover all the time. They don't get anything in return for their services. Yes, they're hiding or they're Gupta. They're in the open, but they are in what we can say incognito. We do not know. They might be our friends also. They might be our friends, will not be knowing because they are doing something for the sake of what? Bharata, Rashtra Dharma. For that they are upholding, because the one who protects the Dharma will be protected by Dharma. Same way, if we just come back to the basics, our Swadharma, who is going to protect it if not us? We have to do it. Krishna is telling Arjuna, look, people will tell what fame. You are not going to get any fame from this. Instead, you will get a notoriety. For ages, people will say, Arjuna, he was a coward. He ran away from the battle. Is that what you want? Is that why you have lived so long? Is that why you have become a Shishya of Dronacharya? Are you a coward? Means you have to recognize, isn't it? He calls him Parantapa. He's a Kunti Putra. Remember your Hari Om, am I audible?
Yes,
Krishna,
sir.
sorry, I think Krishna is also reminding me keep a control on the time. So yes, this is one aspect which he was talking about, that we must uphold our dharma. Krishna goes on, 35th shloka, Bhayad Ranad Uparatam Mansyante Tvam Maharathaha Yesham Sutam Bahumato Bhutva Yasyasi Laghavam. Out of fear, you have deserted the war. So of you, the greatest of warriors shall think. The esteem that you have earned, you will scar. From your stature and grace, you will fall and sink. Krishna is saying you will fall from that stature. Whatever grace you have earned, people will say you ran away from the battle. How bad it is. Can you even imagine somebody running away from the duty? Anybody has heard of this name, Ranchod? Yes. Whose name was that?
Krishna's.
Krishna's name.
Now, what is this? What is the meaning of this? One side he is saying, Arjuna, what will people say if you ran away from battle? But he has a history of running away. Anybody? He's not standing by his words? Or what can we draw from this? Anybody?
He's giving his personal example that I was labeled a ranchod. So that
Okay. All right. Vinitaji has given a very interesting, he's giving a personal example. But actually, the real thing is Krishna was connected with Satya, and Satya is the highest Satya, which is even beyond morals. It is beyond all of these limitations also. And means there are some battles that have to be fought, some battles that have to be avoided. There is no SOP. But right now, Arjuna is not ready for higher mental logic. He's not ready for higher buddhi. So when in Rome, do as Romans do, it is said, no. So right now, this guy is emotional. Let us at least come out of emotions to mental logic for him. That itself is an evolution for him if he's coming out from emotions. So he gives the example. See, you're worried about what people will say. Imagine what will they say. Probably Krishna must be smiling. I don't give a damn what people tell me, call me. I have my duty and I am going to function by it. But here, Arjuna is caring more. He's caring more about what people are saying about him. So for him, Krishna is talking to him in that language. Later on, we'll understand that yes, some battles have to be left. Some battles, you don't have to fight every battle. When somebody comes and says, Ki, I wonder, anybody knows of this Gama Pelwan, the greatest of wrestlers of Bharat, long back. He was so famous before India's partition took place. If somebody comes and challenges him, nobody would fight. He would not take up every challenge, isn't it? He would say, you go fight against my students. If you beat them, then we will accept your challenge. It's something like that. What battle has to be fought, what is not, that is a higher knowledge. But right now, Arjuna is basic aspect only he has forgotten. So Krishna is reminding him, no, Arjuna, no, you will not get any great fame or from this action. No pride will remain. People will just mock you. Look, what will they call Abhimanyu's dad? That's all for Arjuna, isn't it? He has these attachments for his outer relations, his post, everything. So he's speaking to him in that language. Later on in the Gita, Krishna will tell him something very interesting, which is about higher consciousness. Right now, this is the basic logic. Many times we forget basic logic in our emotions. People say, oh, we are thinking of a higher, everything higher, but practical aspect is lost. Common sense should remain, no? Just because we are thinking of some higher thoughts, we cannot lose that. That is something which Krishna is reminding. He goes on further. He says, Avachya bahun vadishyanti tavahitaha nindantastav samarthyam tato dukha tarang kim. Your enemies shall and insult your adeptness, ridiculing your prowess as ineptness. Alas, how painfully agonizing this shall be. Anything worse than this? Can you see? He says, look, what will your enemies say? Arjuna? No, no, no. He was good at Gilli Danda only. No arrows. He could not hold a bow and arrow in his hand. He was weak. He was incapable. He was having no talent. That is what all your enemies will say. Krishna is saying. He's saying, can you tolerate this? Can there be anything worse than this? Duryodhana making a commemorative plaque or a big statue of Arjuna who never could fight. God knows what Arjuna is thinking right now, but Krishna is trying to tell him because right now Arjuna has to come out of his sorrow and depression because that is the first step. He has to learn to keep his emotions aside. He's saying it is a catch-22 situation, frying pan and fire situation like that we experience in life. Nothing positive is going to come out in my life anymore. The best part has gone behind me. This life is gone. There is no hope. These are all moments which we call lower moments. Okay, we will later on learn there are forces which are constructive. There are lower forces which are destructive. We are allowed them to enter. You must turn the situation, and Krishna is trying to do that only to turn the tide. Now we'll look at one more and we'll stop with this shloka. Hato va prapsyasi. Okay, two more shlokas we'll look at. Yes, please. It's 37 and 38. So then we'll enter into what is the Karma Yoga. What is the meaning of Karma Yoga? What is the principle of Karma Yoga? Before that, we conclude this part. Hato va prapsyasi swargam jitva va bhukshase mahim tasmaduttishta kaunteya yuddhaya krita nishchaya. Oh Arjuna, oh Kaunteya, son of Kunti, remember you who you are. Uttishta Kaunteya, Yuddhaya Krita Nishchaya. Become certain to hold your arrows, hold your bow in your hand and fight. He says, in this mighty battle, to uphold the right, either the heaven's door shall open on defeat, or your victory, the whole earth shall joyously greet. Success is certain, Arjuna. Rise up and fight. He says, Arey Arjuna, get up. Success is certain. What's going to happen? If you fail, you have failed in, but you have been trying, you have tried, you have upheld your duty. Nowhere have you failed in your duty, isn't it? That is itself a victory, is what Krishna is saying. The world will remember Arjuna as the warrior who stood up against injustice, who stood up against what was wrong, no matter how many people came against. So for that, you will be remembered only, he says. And then what happens if you win? The world will celebrate the victory of Dharma. Mahabharata is also called a Dharma Yuddha, isn't it? Why is it called a Dharma Yuddha? It is because it is the Yuddha of principles. There is a lot of symbolism in it. So when you're upholding, you're fighting for a right cause. It's okay. If you don't try, you will not be able to answer your own conscience, isn't it? Something is wrong and you've not been able to try. One person I know, 17 years she waited to listen to her inner calling. She shared in one session. 17 years that inner calling was there and yet she was not following it. Due to some reason. She said, I don't even know why those reasons. Now I look at it, it was unnecessary. The 17 years I could not sleep peacefully. But when I took up this decision, it made a lot of difference in my world, in my life. My friend circle also changed. Economically, I was in a different situation. So the higher economic people suddenly stopped avoiding talking to me. But I discovered that they were not really good friends. And now she's like, each moment I'm walking on the path, I'm feeling so satisfied. I'm feeling happy, and best part is I'm able to sleep peacefully. That is what happens when your conscience is clear. And Krishna is saying the same thing to Arjuna. Ki, Arey Arjuna, it is a win-win situation. Either ways, you have walked on the path that your heart has told you to walk on. So you are happy about it. Success, failure, all that is aside. And in the Yuddha, it says, Swarga Dwar will open if you have done your duty and you have finished. You have done everything right. Why will the door of heaven not open for you? And on the other side, if you live, you are going to live as a victor, victor of the battle which is for righteousness. Krishna goes on, we stop here at the Shloka 38 one. Sukha dukhe same krutva labha labhau jaya jayau tayo yuddhaya yujjasva naivam papam avapsyasi. In both sorrow and joy, if you hold your poise, in either profit or loss, by not seeking a choice, if you wage this war in this state of mind, certainly there is no sin that you will incur or find. So Krishna is saying simply, he says, joy and sorrow. We all like happy moments. We already saw that, isn't it? Previously also, the one worthy of liberation is that person who is able to maintain a poise, who is able to maintain a balance. You are able to taste the rasa of the ananda, which is there in the moment. The yogis are actually in a state of ananda at all times. This is santushtaha satatam yogi, another shloka which will come later on in the Gita. Always in a state of ananda. That is possible. When you are keeping that balance on the inside, beyond the dualities of sorrow and happiness. Because ananda is said to be higher than happiness also. What it is, we do not know yet. But Krishna is saying in good moments, don't get overexcited. You will ruin in that excitement, you will ruin the good moment also. In moments of sorrow, don't go and, sometimes people have the habit of attaching to sorrow. One thing bad happens, they magnify that bad, and everything in their life appears sorrowful. And they listen to the ghazals only of those types. Somebody is smiling also. No, no, no. तुम इतना क्यों मुस्कुरा रहे हो? क्या गम है? There's some gum which is behind. I can see the sorrow behind it. और जिंदगी ने जिंदगी भर गम दिए. This was something in my college. My friend loved to listen to it. I was like, what is this? What life you have lived? What has happened? Somebody said no for a date and his life is destroyed, it seems, because of one simple statement. Well, this is what happens. So Krishna says, keep the balance. Balance has to be maintained in joy also and sorrow also. Keep your poise, profit or loss. Best example is for somebody who is in business, who is an entrepreneur, who is working. Can we control anybody who is an entrepreneur? Anybody is there in our session who is running a business? Yes?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, Karthik ji, yes. Can you control the profit or loss for that matter?
Profit, yes. Loss, I don't think so.
It's not in our control. We can try to establish a good situation, system is made, but suddenly what happens? The machine breakdown happens, gone, isn't it? Unexpected, suddenly, and there's no SOP, isn't it, for that? Losses can
Correct.
come anywhere. Suddenly, everything is good, chalo, everything good. We got a big order now, work is going to go ahead. And suddenly from somewhere, oh no, this country declared war on that country. Gone. It happens like that. So business sometimes teaches you that also. The balance has to come. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Otherwise, you're going to get hypertension. So like this happiness, sorrow, keeping that balance in profit or loss, not seeking a choice. And stop holding preferences. Arey, it is summer. I want winter. Will I get winter if I ask for winter right now? My choice is not having any value, unfortunately. So I have to swear it out. I'll have to wait for winter when it comes. It is something like that, recognizing in profit or loss. And Arjuna is being told simply because Arjuna was unnecessarily burdening himself with papa, worries, fears, anxieties. Even on the spiritual path, when people walk, you're supposed to invite good thoughts. Bhadraha, good auspicious thoughts have to come, not sorrowful thoughts. people start sadhana, they are more worried about whether they'll become yoga bhrashta only. Whether this sadhana will fail, what will happen, this will happen, that will happen, God is going to get more angry with me because I didn't do this. All these thoughts. Instead, and look at Arjuna, he was making a list of papa. He even accused Krishna of being greedy. That's a different aspect. But he said, Mitra Droha, Kula Kshaya, Varna Sankaraha, Guru Hatya, all these Papa, and as if he is a Shastri only who has studied all Shastras of Papa and Punya, and somebody has asked him, hey, Mahashastri, please give pravachan. He started giving to Krishna. Another example of what we should not do. Somebody has asked you pravachan, you give, otherwise don't give, isn't it? But Arjuna is doing that, and Krishna negates that also in this shloka. He says, if you wage the war with this state of mind, certainly there is no sin that you will incur or find. Gita is a very, very powerful scripture. It's a seed scripture. It is an Upanishad in itself. It is a sar of the Vedanta. It is also a sar of the Vedas. People call it tantric also if you understand its inner significance. But most important is its practicality. Arjuna, you wage your war without having attachment to any outcome. Forget Papa, no Papa will touch you. You're going to sincerely do your duty, and this is actually creating the ground for the foundation of Karma Yoga, which he will start now. The next is the Shlok of Karma Yoga, how it begins. We'll stop here. But you see, what Krishna did right now was he tried to introduce Arjuna to a higher consciousness, but at the same time, he talked about logic, about tarka, and mental logic only, what Krishna or Arjuna was saying. Arjuna was saying it's a win-win situation, it's a frying pan fire situation. Krishna converted into win-win situation. Arjuna said, I'll get some glory if I get killed. Krishna says, what glory will you get if you get killed without doing your duty? Arjuna again tried to tell him that these are the papa I don't wish to incur. Krishna says, if you don't want to do papa, you don't want to incur papa, take part in the battle. He says, not taking part in the battle is also a papa, isn't it? Abstention is also a abstention from doing what is right. Isn't that a wrong thing? Just because I didn't do means somebody, your best friend is in trouble. And you say, oh, it's my friend is in trouble. I'm not in trouble. What will happen? Your friendship also will be finished at that time because you've not attempted also. You've not tried your duty as a friend. That's a Maitri Dharma, isn't it? Sometimes your Maitri Dharma tells you to say to your friend, you are wrong. But what happens? You feel, no, I want to maintain my friendship, my relationship, because my relationship is also like my motorcycle. I have to go for maintenance. It's not like that, isn't it? You have to speak the truth. It does not matter. If you are a true friend, you will have to speak the truth, even if it is sometimes bitter, because that becomes your dharma, Maitri Dharma. So nowhere abstention of duty is allowed. Krishna is very clearly negated all the logics that Arjuna used in the very first adhyaya. All the logics, whatever Arjuna used, very beautifully Krishna did it. He didn't insult him. He didn't say you're talking nonsense. He didn't make fun of him for thinking that way. He said, Arjuna, I understand where you're coming from, but this is not right. You're not. Yes, Tikamji wants to say something, is it?
Yeah, I'll ask after the, yeah. It's a good question. I think it can take some time.
Yeah, you want to ask a question. All right, maybe we can probably then summarize and then can we look at it, or it's connected with this? You want it right now or later after we complete?
It's basically you're saying that you should not think of the target and work sincerely. So then in my
What
mind
would be the
comes,
motivation, isn't
yeah,
it? Okay, that is Karma Yoga's concept. So we'll have to see. Is it that your question, Tikamji? If that is the question,
my
that what
question
should
is
be the
basically,
motivation?
yeah, if I don't have a goal,
Right.
then how can I go work sincerely?
Oh, right. Okay, that's a good question. Unfortunately, this question also, like last time's question, we'll have to keep it in abeyance because Karma Yoga is going to be about that. Krishna is going to say Karmanye Vadikaraste Mam Phaleshu Kadachanam, a very concept which is not something we've learnt, not in the school, not anywhere else. Everywhere, इससे क्या मिलता है? तो ये करो नहीं तो ये मिलेगा नहीं. But we get a lot of things freely, no? Which we don't take for granted. Love from parents, so many other things. But is it possible? Is it practical? Can we progress in life without having expectations? These are questions which will be covered in the when Krishna introduces this concept. What is detachment also? Will we become cold then if we become detached? That's also a big question people have when they are. Means even when I first read the Gita, I'm like, hey, what is this? You're asking me to not hold on to emotions. So let us see. Let us see what Krishna says. But this is a very valid question, and it's the right question. We will look at it later. So can somebody summarize what we've seen so far? With that, we can then conclude with the Shanti mantra, and then any other questions also, if you have, we'll look at them. Yes, anybody? Can you please summarize something? Yes, please. Anything. Some of the points that we saw today. Anybody?
Krishna is describing the properties of the Atman, that it cannot be destroyed, it cannot be cut, dried,
Yes, ma'am.
and it is eternal.
Anatana.
Sanatana.
Avikaryoyam
Yeah.
cannot be mutated also. Yes, dear. That was one.
And it is it doesn't, it's not born, it doesn't die.
Yeah. So it is eternal. We still don't know. We don't know its connection yet with everything in the scheme of things. Krishna is just out of the blue, what we say, out of syllabus topic has been introduced here in Arjuna's question about running away from battle. He says there is Atman. It is there. Yeah.
So basically, don't grieve for the body.
Because you know only about limited aspect of your life. You are seeing this in a particular way. You're not understanding what is its consequence. What are the chain of events that have taken place before? What are the chain of events taking place afterwards? If you look at it, Bharat also, isn't it? Such a great, glorious history that we had. Glorious, there was not just what we can say in terms of culture, in science also, there was so much progress. And suddenly everything got eclipsed too much, so much to the point that people even began questioning, did it exist at all? Or is it just some kavi ki kalpana, they say, some poetic imagination? That time, what would have happened? Everybody would have felt, what is it? There's no chance that Bharat will rise again. But look at Bharat again now. They're getting ready towards a direction. A lot of people, especially the senior ones in various places, have said the world, especially the West, is searching for direction, for meaning, and they do not know. And Bharat has to rise. It has not yet risen. We're not talking only in terms of our economic footprint. What we are the children of this Amritasya Patra Vayam, the highest consciousness. When we realize it, we will be able to pass it on to the world. But that direction is going on. So you know only a little bit, Arjuna. Krishna was saying. You know only what you have experienced so far. You don't know what was before. You have no idea what's going to happen afterwards. So when you don't know, what's the reason to grieve? That was one thing. Yes, madam. Anybody would like to add some more what we saw? And then we'll conclude.
One must not forget his Swadharma. So,
Yes, Chitraji. Swadharma should not be forgotten. Means at what time we should not forget? At some times or at all times?
at all times,
At all
actually.
times, isn't it? But that is difficult. No? Sometimes we feel this is not right, or somebody will feel bad. How can I may hurt somebody? This question comes or not? If I hold my Swadharma, somebody else will get hurt. So if this question comes, what should be our answer then? Yes, anybody? Chitraji, what do you think? Is it holding Swadharma or hurting somebody?
There's a saying, no? Satyam
Yeah.
bruyat, priyam
No,
bruyat.
Priyam Bruyat. Oh, beautiful. That shloka is Satyam Bruyat, Priyam Bruyat, Na Bruyat, Satyam Apriyam. Okay, you can try. But when you speak the truth, even if you speak it in the most mild words, it will hurt or not. So should we hold it or we should not? We should not worry about the consequences when a question of holding Swadharma comes. Maybe we will not add harshness to our aspect, our words. We will not add arrogance to our actions. Mildly also we can tell the same truth, but compromising Swadharma is not something which we can tolerate. That was one thing. Krishna says Swadharmat Nidhanam Shreya. Yes, that was one point. Anything else?
Can you translate that saying?
Yeah, I will
Satyam
share it in
Bruyat.
the group itself. I'll share it in the
Sure.
what Satyam Bruyat Na Bruyat Satyam Apriyam. Means when you speak the truth with a little kindness. And don't speak the truth that is creating just disturbance unnecessarily, unless required. That is Sanatan Dharma. We'll share it later on. Yes. Yes, Chitraji, anything else you were adding?
So many wait for the chance to exhibit their dharma, so it is considered as sacred,
Sacred and God-given.
God given. So
Ji,
it
ji.
opens the doors to heaven. So, and if one does not stand for what is right, it is also a sin.
Yes. So this is when directly Krishna is saying this to Arjuna. So and then he says, uphold your without profit or loss. What is profitable? I want something to happen, which is like this, which is according to my wish. Then I call it profit. If it happens against my wish, I call it loss. Krishna is saying, forget profit, forget loss, uphold your duty. Remaining is not in your hand. If you are waging the war like this, Arjuna, you will be slaying so many people, but you will not be incurring any sin at all because you are upholding your duty. That was what the base for Karma Yoga is where we have seen. All right. Thank you, Ji, very much. So let us conclude with a Shanti mantra. Hari Om. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Hari Om Tat Sat. Krishna Vande Jagat Guru. Jai Shri Krishna. Punarmilama. See you tomorrow again. If anybody wishes to ask or share something, you are welcome, or we'll conclude our session.
Yeah, Hariom, I want to
Hariom.
ask that,
Yes.
like we are saying that Atma is not affected uh, by fire, water, and everything, but then what about what is told that after death uh, in Narka, Atma goes?
Where is
So
it told?
in Puranas and maybe in Garud
Ah,
Puran, like
yes.
Atma does not want you to cry and
Yeah.
Atma feels
Uh-huh.
bad. Then what about?
Yes. Yes. Well, there was something called Vedas, and there were the Upanishads. They were all about the Brahmic truth and gnosis of Brahman, supreme highest realization. The Puranas had stories, isn't it? Why are stories told? With a moral.
Yes.
To create, because you see Vedantic Satya, even now, if you pick up Upanishad, you'll say, "Arey, what is this? Om iti etad aksharamidam sarvam tasyopa vyakhyanam." You'll not be able to understand. You suddenly read Brahmanaspati Sukta, you'll not understand. But then when you say Omkara, it's a Rupa, is Ganesha's Rupa. Ganesha is the form of Omkara. Ganesha only is Brihaspati. Ganesha is the first Deva who is going to open the God. He is the God of learning. What happens? It is enabling us to understand and move ahead, isn't it? It is something like that. So the Puranas are speaking of a truth, but it is for the masses. For the mass, it's the stories of the Puranas. If you look at Naraka, in the Bhagavad Gita specifically, I will not comment out other scriptures because not because I don't know. That is why I will say simple. Gita is my what we can say place where I have studied something, so then I can talk about it. In the Gita, Naraka is only quoted by Arjuna like this in the first adhyaya. Again, when the Naraka comes in the Gita, Krishna is saying you are opening the gates of Naraka to make your life Naraka. It is not talking about the other Naraka Loka. Other lokas are talked about in the Gita, but not in the we have the Chandra Loka, we have the two different margas also, Shukla Marga, Krishna Marga. But Naraka is not described like that. So that we can just keep aside. But Atman, it has just been introduced. We don't think, like we are also finding some questions, ke, what is this? Arjuna is going to have 100 more questions than us because he is now wanting to run away from the battle. So maybe we will look at it as it comes. as of now, let us say, chalo, theek hai, it's introduced that there's an Atman which is not going to die and it is pure, it is like a consciousness which is undiluted, undistilled, like an elixir, like Soma, which is immortal, which is Sanatan, which will remain like that. That is the only
And
property described. Yeah,
there
yes.
is some physical entity to Atma, or is it like a state of being?
Why is it not possible to be a state of being and a physical entity also,
Okay.
which we cannot detect probably? Like we can't see, what is infrared or ultraviolet, but it is there. It is there like that. Atman, to understand Atman, maybe we will need a realization of some sort. But very much it's present. It's present inside of our body, no? One neurologist, he's very close to the retirement. He's actually now he's a very senior HOD also. He was telling, I have watched so many patients from close. I watched their last moments. He says something leaves this patient, after which I know I cannot revive, but it is not physical. There's not an enzyme that is secreted, just gone. Vital signs are looking all right on the board. I can see all of them on the monitors. These workstations are all showing that, chalo, okay, this is there. But I know now revival is not possible because something that was there left. Where did it go from? Which dwara did it go from? We do not know, he says. And this has always intrigued me. So that is a puzzle. Ascharyavat pashyati, as Krishna said.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, ji. Thank you, ji. Hari Om. Namaste.
Namaste. I want to add one thing, like in the schools, one of my teacher, they told that they did an experiment of a person who was about to die, and they placed them in the one glass box. And when he died, the glass broke actually a little bit. So with that experiment, they said like something is leaving the body. So like that, they did some experiment.
Okay, I was not aware of this. If you find somewhere some research or something about it, please do share it. Yeah.
And also during the passing of Ramana Maharishi, there was some light going in the sky. That was mentioned in the newspaper also. Yeah, in the newspaper also it was mentioned.
Yes, yes, yes. Sometimes people become conscious. 8th Adhyaya is about that only. Yogis, no? They are aware of their moments and people are able to experience it. Ji, ji, ji. Yes, ji. Thank you for sharing. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, ji. Namaste. Namaskar.
Thank you. Thank
Hari
you so
Om.
much. Hari Om.
Thank you, ji. Hari Om. Hari Krishna, ji. Hari Om.
Hari Om.